Welcome to a 2025 year in review of Birmingham City Football Club. Today I'm joined by Sam. How are we, mate?
Yeah, well, good, thank you. Nice to be chatting with you again, sort of in this content creation space. I've taken sort of a couple months away from it, but yeah, nice to be chatting with you and reflecting on this year because, you know, we've had some memorable moments watching Blues and also covering Blues as well.
It's been a memorable year for Blues, so let's go back to the very beginning, in which every year starts in January. So the opening game of the year was an away trip to Stockport County on New Year's Day. We did take an early lead for Alfie May. It was a very well taken finish, but we just faded in that game, didn't we, unfortunately?
It was a really tight game and they gave us a real good run for our money. And I remember that back pass right at the end from Bielik to Allsop. And I remember thinking at that stage that, you know, we're not home and hose because it seems as if the whole of League One season, it was like, yeah, Birmingham going to win the title, Birmingham going to win the league. And I think that was one of those games that just goes to show that we are going to get some tough tests in League One. And I remember going through that game, getting a point and actually being angry because of the quality of performance, but then also thinking on the other hand, like, at least we've not come away from that game losing, so there is something to take from it. I think January was one of those months where there's still a lot of moving parts for us in League One, and it certainly wasn't certain that we were going to win the league and do it in the way that we did.
The team that started that day was Ryan Allsop in goal, a back four of Bielik, Clara, Ben Davies and Alex Cochrane, with the midfield two of Iwata and Paik. And then we had Taylor Gardner-Hickman on the right, Jay Stansfield on the left, Williamson through the middle and Alfie May up top. A very different team from what we've got right now. I mean, some of those players aren't even here anymore. But even still, like, you know, that was considered probably our best team at that time, wasn't it?
Yeah, probably, because later on in the January window, we brought in a couple of new players. You got Grant Hanley in, sort of a squad player centre-back, and then you also had Kieran Dowell as well, which offered an option going forward, because you see there with Gardner-Hickman playing as like a right winger. He was used there quite a lot during the season.
But we did pick it up in the next game against Wigan. We won 3-0 away. This was one of my favourite games of the season, this was, you know. It was sort of post-Christmas type of game. You know, I was expecting like a good response from a poor performance, and we did just that.
Come on! Yeah! Quality ball, come on! Fantastic, come on! Yes! Yes! Come on! Yes! Oh! Great goal!
This was the turning point in the season, this was, you know, this was the one where it's like, yes, we are going to be the proper dominant side, you know. Started with a very strong lineup. Ethan Laird was man of the match that day with 2 assists.
Yeah, Alfie May popping up with 2 goals in that game against Wigan. I remember one of the goals he scored, he went behind the goal and he done like the spin, didn't he, around the pole when he was holding on to it.
I do miss Alfie May. There's some great moments with him in that season. He really was like such a great person to have in your team. And you could just tell they absolutely love playing for Blues, and we absolutely love to have him in the team as well. The following game that we have is Lincoln in the FA Cup. Now, I remember at the time not being particularly pleased with this draw. I was hoping for a big draw, but this was a very enjoyable game, even though I was incredibly ill at the time. So getting up early in the morning, wearing a big thick coat on the way down to Birmingham on the train, in like the really snowy conditions as well, it's just like, I could really do with my bed right now. This game better be worth it. And to be fair, it was a decent game, to be fair. Yokoyama got the early goal.
Have a shot! Yeah! Get in, Yokoyama!
Lyndon Dykes scored probably one of the best goals in the tournament, really.
What a great goal. Finish. What a corker.
I remember when they released the tickets for Newcastle, that was one of the priority games, wasn't it? So if you went to that Lincoln game and braved the cold and not many people there, then you managed to get priority for the Newcastle game. That Yokoyama goal actually was the quickest of the year. 32 seconds that was. He has that accolade to his name. He didn't really do much of Birmingham in our shirt, but that's something that he does have. And the Lyndon Dykes goal was superb, wasn't it? Because I remember at that time as well in the season that if Dykes would have moved on in that January, then I wouldn't have been that fussed, because I didn't really know what he was about. He didn't quite fit into the team, but that goal was superb, wasn't it? Just like the control and then the volley looping over the keeper, and then that sealed our draw against Newcastle in the 3rd round.
Skipping forward a few games, Blues are still top. We're going against a big top of the table clash against Wrexham away. Your game against Wrexham in the game at St Andrews had been an absolute Hollywood blockbuster.
Get in! What a fucking goal!
This one, on the other hand, didn't quite live up to expectations.
And you saw the footage on the Prime Video documentary that really did capture just the restlessness in the away crowd. Again, I put that in the same category as Stockport, as when you look back at it in hindsight, it was a pretty good point away from home because we were far from our best, but yet we managed to come away with something. And it was Lyndon Dykes' header, wasn't it, that got us a point in that game. And I remember we were really put under the cosh. The Prime Video documentary with Tom Wagner in the crowd, and you could just sense around him just the people getting frustrated. And it was another one of those moments where we had to ride our luck in the game a little bit. And once the final whistle blew, I just kind of just released the sigh of relief where I was like, we got a point. At least we didn't lose to someone that at that time was around us in the league and not too far from us in points.
I remember because I couldn't get tickets for the game because obviously Wrexham's allocation is only very small. So me and Jack did a live reaction to it. I remember at the time, me and my brother were really upset that we'd got the point. We felt like we should have gotten better. And then my dad jumps on the call with us later and starts saying to us, like, it's a good point. We got, sometimes this is going to happen, just need to grind out results. So I thought, okay, fair enough. And then at the end of the season, when the documentary comes out, when you cut to the post-match reaction from Davies afterwards, when he's going into the dressing room, he's feeling the same way that I was feeling. So I was like, I knew I was right. I knew I was frustrated.
He didn't want the cameras in there, did he?
No, he was really upset with that. But that's a good sign of a great manager, that is, in my opinion. And I think for that sort of result, it really galvanised the team to keep on kicking on, really. And it did just that, because the following game, we beat Huddersfield 1-0. Another close game. And Keshi Anderson pops up with easily one of the best goals of the season.
What a goal it was, by the way. Like, the amount of times that I watched that one back after the game, and just the technique and the composure to be able to do it, because you see so many players that step onto a volley like that and it just blazes over the bar. But the fact that it nestled in the net the way that it did, and like with the away fans there as well, seeing it right behind it.
One of the best moments that was of the vlog that season. It easily was, just the way that he caught it so sweetly, dipping over the top of the goalkeeper as well. I knew it was in as soon as he hit it, to be fair, and like you say, right in front of the away fans, brilliant scenes and everything. We should say we've got some end of season awards. So, Sam, does that go down as one of the nominations?
Certainly a nomination. Yeah, we can put it in the poll afterwards for you guys to vote on. But yeah, I'd say that's definitely in the goal of the season category, isn't it? Or goal of the year, should I say?
So January 24th, Sam, me and you headed down to London. I got a 5 o'clock train to head down to London to participate in the TalkSport Cup.
Preston, and just really I'm going to take the lid off this time because I think that's going to make a massive difference. But yeah, as I was saying, we are getting the train down to London today. We are going to the TalkSport Tower in London. Be partaking in the TalkSport Cup. It's basically a quiz full of Premier League, Championship, League One fans, and the winner gets £1,000. So.
Look at that, fucking hell.
That's my Brummie commentary on coming to London. Fucking hell, so the size of that. It's a bit big in it.
First round, we absolutely annihilated Tottenham Hotspur, and it's a shame because they never got back to us about the round two. I mean, like, that's such a shame, isn't it? We were doing really well.
Today's tie is the second round tie between Birmingham City and Leicester City.
No, we didn't play in round two.
The final score.
No, we didn't. No, I'm not.
With 26 points, it's Leicester City.
All right, fine. We played in round two. We lost to Leicester.
Yeah, it was the pilot episode, wasn't it, of the TalkSport Cup? So they were like, if we're going to do it with you guys, and like if it doesn't work with you guys, then we're just not going to do it, full stop. So our first game was against Tottenham, and the two guys that represented Tottenham were really nice on the day, and everyone at TalkSport was really nice on the day there as well, as this was something that they were trying that was new, and it's something that we were new to as well. Yeah, that was one of those days where you look at sort of the journey that we've been on as well as like content creators and that, and you think back to those moments and you go, yeah, we kind of built this from the ground up in terms of things that we've attempted to do and projects that we've done as well that have got us to this point. And yeah, that was one of those moments that I look back on and go, yeah, proud of what we've done.
So moving on to February, the opening game of that was against Rotherham at home. It was a difficult game for Blues. Rotherham took the lead in that game just before half-time. It was looking a little bit like us, sort of like old Blues a little bit, unfortunately, but we bounced back in the second half. 2 goals from Jay Stansfield.
Yeah! Fucking come on! Yeah! He's giving it!
10 minutes left.
Everybody that's going to be putting Pensfield in the comment section now, just know that your banter is absolutely terrible.
It was very Stansfield of him in this season to just, find that decisive touch and score that goal. In narrow games with these tight margins, Stansfield's popped up with the goals, even if they are from the penalty spot to get us the victory.
Well, at least he scores them. That's all I'm going to say. We've had plenty of strikers playing for Blues that can't score penalties in our time. So Blues were still top of the table moving into the next game, which was the big one, the biggest one of the year, against Newcastle. I mean, like, where do we even begin with this one, Sam? Like, this was just absolutely incredible. This was the hype around it. The whole day was just so exciting, honestly. Like, we felt like we had the cameras back on us. It was the perfect time to get some exposure around the club and really sort of sell our story and get people back interested in the Blues again. And what a fantastic game to do it. Ethan Laird takes the lead within a couple of minutes. Pretty much Blues' first attack. We could have easily got more. Stansfield had a chance. Anderson missed a good chance as well, but a good save from Nick Pope. And then the 2 crazy goals back to back, really. I'm still absolutely adamant that ball does not cross the line. I think
It didn't.
Peacock Farrell was absolutely robbed. I feel sorry for Peacock Farrell because we kind of remember him for being a bit of a dodgy keeper, and he had some poor games. But that game in particular, like, I think he did really well. And to him, like, to have conceded 3 goals in the way that he did, like, feels unfair, that did. Because, like, that second goal, maybe you could say he was a little bit at fault for. But had that first goal not stood, then he would have been more switched on, you know. But because there's so much carnage going around him and, you know, players flying in everywhere, like, it's just, we sort of lost it a little bit.
Fucking give something!
But then, well, there was this goal. That Tomoki Iwata goal, I don't think I've ever seen a better goal at Blues in my life, and perhaps never will, because that moment will always be so special because of the scenario that we were in, you know, like we were the downtrodden team that was finally getting something back. And like that goal symbolises that so perfectly, because it was like, oh, finally, honestly. And to have that in that way on the telly, everybody was going mental about it online. And then just to see like, hey, this is us, we're back. And like, oh, it was just best moment of the season. I'm putting that in my nominations for the end of the season awards.
Well, the Iwata goal was my goal of the year because of what it meant and how he scored it as well. And I was at the game with my dad, and we were sort of next to the Tilton in the main stand, like by the corner flag, and we saw it from behind, like looking towards the far side where the Newcastle fans were, and you could just see the trajectory of it. I don't feel like the TV replays do it justice from like actually seeing it in the stadium as well. And when he was running up to the ball, I was just thinking of the times earlier on in the season where Watt had shot from that distance, and more than not, he'd actually scored. So I was actually confident when he stepped up that he was going to produce a shot on target. And I mean, the way that he beat Nick Pope as well with that shot, it was just crazy. And it just had that big game feel around the game, didn't it? Like my day started at 7 a.m. speaking to Natalie Sawyer and Tony Cascarino on TalkSport about the game.
Sam Sheppy. Sam, good morning to you. How are you doing?
Hi, Sam.
Yeah, very good, thank you. Good morning, guys. And the way you're talking us up there, it's very refreshing to hear as a Birmingham fan that we're actually doing well for once.
Do you know what?
And it was a real moment for me to feel proud as a Blues fan, because these big media outlets were looking at our game and going, this is the one that we've got to cover, and this is the one we've got to try and find out more about. And also the BBC cameras were there with Match of the Day, and the trophy was there as well, wasn't it, with Gary Lineker and the rest of the BBC lot. And it just felt like one of those games where this is what Birmingham can be, and this is what I've grown up, knowing what Birmingham can be as well, from the Carling Cup days. That's the game that you can look at and go, that's what Birmingham can be, this is what hostile crowd can do. And although we did lose the game, I felt like we won in so many more different aspects.
So moving into the next game, we're back into the league, and obviously we're keeping that good form up. We win 4-0 against Cambridge, goals from Jay Stansfield, an own goal from Bennett, and Kieran Dow made it a fantastic goal, actually, from what I remember. There was a lovely team goal, he rolls it into the far bottom corner. And then Luke Harris.
That team goal for Dow is the one that stands out from this fixture, and I think it was right after the second goal as well. So we just hit Cambridge straight away, and it was that passing and the intensity. It was just on paper what I guess Chris Davies had done last season in terms of working to make Birmingham prettier on the eye, I guess, because for so long we'd been a team where it was 4-4-2, get it up to the big man, not really fussed about like possession or pretty football. It was more about the results, but I feel like it was then merging the results with the style of play as well.
So the next game in the league was a game against Charlton at home. Jay Stansfield scored an absolute wonder goal, all on his own from the halfway line, dribbles past a few players and then rockets it into the near top corner.
All I know is that Nathan Jones wasn't happy after the game, was he?
Yes. Yes. So the date is February 18th, and it is the semi-final of the Virtue Trophy. Blues are playing Bradford at home at St Andrews. I mean, like this again, really going up there as one of the contenders of the year. This was. It's a close game at first, and then Jay Stansfield pops up with a fantastic spin. Puts Blues in front right before the half-time whistle. And then in the second half, Jay goes down. He's like literally knocked off his feet. The referee gives absolutely nothing, and they break up the other end and score.
Oh, you're fucking kidding me!
I mean, Peacock Farrell probably is at fault, unfortunately. And then Bradford are right back in the game, and it's looking like it's going to go to extra time.
It's a different game now, it really is. Clear as day again! What is that? What is that?
15 minutes until penalties.
Joyce! Great goal of goal, honestly. I did not think that was coming.
Up pops Lyndon Dykes, and that's all she wrote, wasn't it?
That's one you could probably speak for yourself, like being at the game and afterwards, and the celebrations and the K Sarah playing around the ground. It's one of those moments that I imagine you could look back on and go, wow, that was one of the highlights of that season.
Easily, yeah. The Lyndon Dykes goal goes up there. It's 100% one of the best moments of the season, that was. And then to round it all off with all the fireworks at the end. And people would laugh about that and say that's it, you're going to the Virtue Trophy final, like, you know, calm down a little bit. But you got to remember that Blues are a team that have been, like, in the dumps for such a long time before this season. You know, just got relegated after we all thought that we were going to get promoted. So to just have those moments where we were, like, enjoying ourselves and, you know, not caring about things, it was fantastic, you know, like, and just to have that little bit of enjoyous moments and everything was a fantastic moment. And how often do Blues get to go to Wembley? I mean, the last time we had that was in the 2011 Carling Cup final, and the time before that was even longer ago. So it was going to knit the season together perfectly in the end, because obviously going to Wembley just made like a fantastic end of season treat. Next game is against Reading away. Now this game fucking annoys me, this does, honestly. Their pitch was rock solid, and it caused two of our players to get injured in Scott Wright and Lyndon Dykes. And to be fair, Lyndon Dykes didn't help himself by missing an open goal.
Gotta be! Oh no!
Oh, Dykes, man! Oh my God.
We haven't seen Scott Wright since.
His Blues career started really well with that winner against Wigan, but ever since then he's just had his problems with injuries, isn't he? And I feel like there is a player in there, but like with Laird and Anderson, you just want him to get back to fitness so he can really have a run of games and prove his worth.
Okay, so moving into March, a big top of the table clash. This was first versus second at the time. Blues versus Wickham. Taylor Gardner-Hickman with one of the most bizarre goals I've seen at St Andrews in a long time. Ryan Allsop pings it over the top and he gets on the end of it. It gets a bit of a weird sort of looping deflection into the back of the net. And yeah, we just coasted the game from on there on out, really. Xavier Simons then gets sent off for taking out Ethan Laird. Blatant red card. But yeah, 12 points clear at the top of the table. Heading into the next game, we got Bolton away. Bailey Peacock-Farrell was the goalkeeper in that game, and we take the lead through Emil Hansen. Very nice work goal, his first goal for Blues in the league. And we're fairly in control at that point. You know, that Bolton threw a few chances at us, and unfortunately, Peacock-Farrell just has an absolute capitulation. Our first defeat since November of 2024.
Yeah, I think that was one of the only league games in the League One campaign where you can hold your hands up and go, we deserve to lose that one. And we were just outclassed on the day, really bad. Bolton, obviously, the Peacock-Farrell helped that, but we were never really in control of it. Although Hansen did get the nicely worked goal, Bolton just grew in confidence in the game. And I remember the manager at the time, Stephen Schumacher, had just been appointed, I think, round about that time as well. So he was just getting his feet under the table and, went on to do a job on us really in that game.
Frustrating one, but we absolutely came back with a bang with a 4-1 victory over Shrewsbury. Ben Davies got the opening goal for us, his first goal for Blues, then Ethan Laird got a second, and then Alfie May gets himself back on the score sheet with two really well taken goals. Really pleased for Alfie May as well. You know, we all loved him at Blues, and he really showed his soul that day, didn't he?
It was a real celebratory mood because I was there at that game and just kind of taking it all in, and I feel like that season I fell into just being relaxed going to Birmingham games, which is never so really true, been the case. But going to those games, those home ones, especially against the teams in League One that were like towards the bottom of the table, you knew the plan of what was going to happen, and you knew the patterns that were going to unfold, and you just felt comfortable, which is a sensation that I just haven't felt following Blues, and that season was a real exception and one that I certainly enjoyed.
Bristol Rovers were next, the first game of April. Rather funny, actually. We've managed to play like the very first game of each month. Like we played on January 1st, we played on February 1st, March 1st, and April 1st. It's quite a cool thing, that is. But against Bristol Rovers away, we win 2-1. It was another tough game, but we come away with the win. Joe Stansfield gets the penalty, and this game was particularly interesting because we finished the game with 92 points, and that game technically means that we are champions because Wrexham, they only go up to 92 points.
It was a really good finish from Anderson as well. I remember that goal, really nicely taken, and as you said, like Bristol Rovers were down there scrapping for our lives, and it was one of those games where there was that bit of jeopardy because you think like because Bristol Rovers are down the bottom of the league they could grind out a performance, but yeah, we were really measured in our performance, and and monitored the crowd as well, and played our game and won. You know, sounds like a broken record talking about a lot of these League One games, but just grinded out the performance and got the 3 points again.
So moving into April 5th, we're back at home. We're against Barnsley. We've got box seats, courtesy of Tony from RM Risk Management. Big thank you. And whilst we're at this point, here's the sponsor.
This video is proudly supported by RM Risk Management, providing a comprehensive range of services tailored to UK property managers. Visit rmriskmanagement.co.uk to ensure a secure tomorrow.
Fantastic day. Alvino did flow. I had plenty of red wine, as you might be able to tell. And if you are a keen viewer of my matchday vlogs, you'll probably notice that video didn't go out until the next day. But what a day it was, honestly. Like a 6-2 win. Absolutely crazy game. Stansfield got us underway with the penalty, and then goals from Keeler Dunn as he got Barnsley back into the game. A massive long throw from Mark Roberts. And of course, at the time, obviously, that's when it works against us, which is just typical. And then Alfie May gets a couple of goals just after the half-time break. Barnsley get one back through Humphreys. Again, he was a real tough player that season. I remember in the reverse fixture, he gave us a handful that day. But then we just ran away with the game. Luke Harris got his goal. Kieran Dowell scored. And then, of course, the man, the myth, the legend, Lukas Jukovic, he got his goal. Honestly, I could watch that goal for the rest of eternity, honestly. It's absolutely brilliant.
The alcohol was flowing for you on that day, and it was for me as well, because I was on a stag do. So
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I was on a stag do that day, and so I wasn't like watching the game or necessarily keeping tabs on it like minute by minute, but obviously I did have the notifications come off on my phone. And yeah, just towards the final half an hour, it was like, goal, Birmingham, goal, Birmingham, goal, Birmingham. And I was like, how much have I had to drink? Like the rest of like my friends there that weren't Blues fans were like, you can't have scored again. And like, yeah.
Yes, we have. So then heading into April the 8th on Tuesday night, Peterborough away. It is the decisive game. We win, we are back up into the Championship. No questions asked.
How old were you when we last got promoted? 3.
easily, hands down, one of the best days of the season this was, The final whistle scenes was like something I hadn't been a part of, really, Seeing us get promoted, obviously it wasn't to the Premier League, but even still, just to have that great moments, just enjoying and being successful and, having a good time and everything, and just enjoying singing and the connection at the end of that game, you can feel it with those players. They were honestly, some of the best players that you could have got behind, such amazing people to be a part of and everything. It rounded off a fantastic season, didn't it?
I think for our generation, a lot of the full-time celebrations we've seen after games has been just about keeping us in the league and surviving. You think of the ones against Bristol City or against Bolton where we've celebrated staying in the league, but this one has come after a promotion and come from us winning games, football all season. And it was a real celebratory mood around the place. And I just remember, watching and seeing the champagne flowing as, we lifted that trophy to say that we'd been promoted at that stage, and I suppose the relief around the place that we've managed to get back up to the Championship at the first time of asking, and we've done it in some fashion as well. And Chris Davies after the game said that he'd go home and have one drink to celebrate.
It's interesting how you say that, though, isn't it? It's like, we're back at the first time of asking, because we were confident, but we weren't certain we were going to go straight back up. Particularly
I think people other than Blues fans were more certain than what we were.
Yes, that's true, isn't it? Yeah, it was strange, because I do remember thinking to myself, I said at the very start of the season, we're going to finish top and finish over 100 points and everything, which turned out to be right, because, I'm just amazing like that. But even still, I was still feeling a little bit not sure. I don't know. There was a little bit of a, how are we going to do it? And what if we don't do it? What do we look like then? Because obviously we had such an expectation to come straight back up and for the owners and the money and everything. When we had that game against Peterborough, there was a good sigh of relief, really, but also we can do this, we can prove that we're a top side, and I felt such a confidence through the whole club at that point. It's like, we're not going to be stopped. And we'll just move on straight to the next game, which is Crawley at home. Apparently we went to Wembley. I don't remember that. No, we didn't. Did we? All right, fine. We went. Yeah, okay. We lost. We were absolutely shit. It's such a shame, honestly. It's typical Blues. This is honestly we get all the way to Wembley. We're having such a fantastic day as well beforehand. Meeting up with everybody in the fan park. You got Tom Wagner on the bus. Everything that we've hired out. It was brilliant, honestly. It was one of the most enjoyable days of my life until the football started.
That moment in the fan park before the game with the double-decker bus, and then Tom Brady and Tom Wagner emerged at the top of it as one of my moments of the season, because
easily
we'd just been crowned champions, going to Wembley to watch our team play football, and we had the prime video cameras around as well.
Here we go for the final score, Arthur.
20-0.
My thing. I've got a copyright on that. Patent pending.
Yeah, the drinks are definitely flowing that day as well, and I saw Jay the boy in blue queuing up for drinks alongside me. And we didn't know we were both in the queue until we were both at the front, and we looked at each other like, "Oh, you're right, mate."
He was fucking levered that day, honestly. I've never known anybody more drunk in my life. In a weird way, it turned out to be very beneficial for the rest of the season. Had we won that, I think we'd have gotten a bit too carried away. I think we'd have thought, we're going to absolutely be fine, there's nothing to worry about. But that was a good bring back down to earth moment, that was. And even though it was horrible on the day and we'd spent a lot of money to get there and everything, it was good for the club and good for the team, because it told them that you've still got to work hard. You can't just expect everything, handed to you on a silver plate. You might be the best team in the league, but you can't just turn up and expect to win. And I think there was a little bit of arrogance about us that day, where we thought we'll turn up, we'll play, we'll win, we'll have a great day afterwards. And we got let down, unfortunately. So it was a good bring back down to earth, good wake up call for the players and the team and everything, So yeah, in hindsight, it probably is one of the best things that happened to us that season, because it woke us up again. We needed to be still on good form. But then we pick it back up with a few wins at the end of the season. We beat Burton Albion away 2-1, and then Stevenage away. Sam, this was one of your local games. You brought one of your mates with you, and spoiler alert, somebody actually got the score right, and very right.
Still going to go 1-0. I'm going to go. Cochrane, go.
Okay, so I've just agreed with Kieran that because Cochrane's not in the starting 11 and he's going to score, and Cochrane has not scored all season, that if he does score, I will give Kieran right here a tenner.
Can we get the handshake on? Yeah. There we go, that's it, yeah. See if Kieran's prediction comes true now.
someone that has been to how many Blues games this season?
3. I want to say 3.
Has predicted the correct score and the correct goal scorer for someone that hasn't scored all season.
Well,
any message to the Blues fans?
Just bring me back whenever and I'll predict all your scores.
Yeah, I'd have bet more, really, to be honest, and then I probably would have been absolutely skinned by the
If
end
you
of
put
it.
£10 on it at a bookmaker's, it would have made you a lot more than that back.
Yeah. Why did I do that? I could have put a bet on, honestly. I should have done that. Into the final home game of the season, 4-0 win against Mansfield. Absolutely fantastic day. Again, goes up there with one of the best moments of the season, that is, 100%. All the celebrations at the end of it. And the feel-good factor's just suddenly back then, isn't it? Football's a weird sport like that.
That's my moment of the year for me. Being like at St Andrews, like a home ground where we've just seen so much dross, haven't we, over the years, and just having that occasion to celebrate and the scarves waving as well. That was a moment that I just thought was unbelievable to witness. And having one of those scarves is a real like memorabilia thing of like that's what happened, and the way that we performed as well, it was superb from minute 0 to minute 90. And it was one of those games where I can look back on, especially for like the year in 2025, and go, that was a real special year. And I think that's something that Blues fans in 5-10 years time will look back on and go, I was there.
That keep right on at the start of the game where we had all the scarves up and everything, that was easily one of the best moments of the season. It was so amazing just to see. Like, it felt like we were finally back as well. Felt like we were finally back at the team and the club that we were. It was scenes that we'd been robbed of for many years, and as a Blues fan as well, like the passion and the pride I felt back in us at that time was something that I'd been missing from a long time, really. And to celebrate in the way that we did as well at the end of the game, with the trophy and everything. It might only be League One, but my God, we needed it as a club. We really did. We needed like a good pick us up moments where we were enjoying ourselves and having good times again. And it was a rarity in the last few years, and to have that was much needed. We really needed that moment, and it was fantastic. So to round off April, we are away against Blackpool. It was only me and Dad that went to this game because Jack wasn't very well. You see that? Like when I'm ill, I still go, and you don't. Goals from Ethan Laird and Alfie May takes us up to 108 points, moving into the last game of the season away at Cambridge. Christoph Clara got the opening goal for Blues before we got pegged back, but obviously the most resounding bit at the end was the goal from us. Lukas Djukovic challenged for the header. It went in. Everybody's thinking Lukas Djukovic has got the final goal of the season. He's going to take us to 111 points. We look back on the replay and it's come off the defender's back, which is really disappointing. But who cares?
We'll pretend that's his goal.
yeah, we can all pretend. That's fine. But yeah, that was the end of the 24-25 League One season. Moving back into the Championship, 111 points. I mean, like, that is a really nice personal accolade to have, isn't it? We've got that will always be the main thing that people remember. Like, we will always be the most successful team in terms of points when it comes into English football, and a world record as well.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Obviously, we had the end of season awards that we all went to. It was a great night. We got a bit of footage that we can show you here.
Chris Davies! Hey, he's got the trophy! Get some footage, yeah? There we go.
Well. Oh.
Yeah, proper groove in here. Night fever. You don't have to lose it. I don't know the words of this song.
Lee McCallum's just bought us a drink.
In In June, Lukas Djukovic, Blues club legend, has retired, and obviously we're moving into the pre-season stuff. We're going into July. Bill Neumann was the first signing of the summer, which had been signed in January as a pre-contract agreement. We bought in Kyogo, Marvin Duksh, Brightasai Samuel from Fenerbahce, Kanya Fujimoto, Damari Gray returned back to Blues' boyhood club. Tommy Doyle was a loan transfer from Wolves, Ian Cashin, Patrick Roberts, James Beadle, Lewis Kumas, and Jack Robinson. Now, at the time, Sam, I was very pleased with this as a summer transfer window, but I suppose in hindsight, obviously with this being the end of year review, I was probably a little bit overestimative of probably the fact that we're going to do really well. But even at the time, I will say I thought they were really good signings.
I think on paper it certainly does. If you look at where the players were signed from and the experiences that they'd had, like you could easily look at that transfer window and go, those are the correct additions we need to kick on. And I feel like in the wide areas we've definitely improved from last season, but I feel like there are certain areas where maybe we've regressed a little bit, and you look at what's happened at centre-back with the amount of different duos that we've had, players that have played next to Clara, and then what's happened at right-back as well, because although we've got lots of options, are they really quality options? I don't know. And as for the striker position, like when we signed Kyogo, I couldn't believe it. Like I thought that is a superb signing, exactly what we need, someone that can score goals now, had enough experience in the game to show that he can score goals. You see what he's done at Celtic, but it just hasn't happened for him, and the same can be said for a few players that we've signed. Cashin maybe recalled the same for Kumas as well, and those are players with championship experience as well. So yeah, a lot of the signings haven't perhaps worked out the way that we've wanted them to, and then also I suppose we could focus as well on the players that have left Birmingham in that time as well.
So some of the players that we let go in the summer, Ramel Donovan, who was expected to be one of our new up and coming players, a lot of the fan base were saying that this guy should be getting more time, but unfortunately for them, his time was up and he left for Brentford on a permanent deal. Ayumi Yokoyama, another one of those players who was expected by some of the fans that he was going to get a starting position in the season. Alfie May was one of the big ones that everyone regretted and probably does regret now, unfortunately, in hindsight. As well as Christian Bielik, who left for West Brom. That one really hurt, actually, that did, because I was really a big fan of Bielik, and again, in hindsight, he probably is one of the players that we need at the moment. And then we didn't eventually sign Ben Davies and Kieran Dowell, who were one of our better performers towards the end of that season.
It's strange what's happening with Davies at Oxford, because he was signed by Gary Rowett, and you'd imagine that he'd get like a lot of minutes, but I'm not sure what's happened there, whether it's been he's just out of favour or injury. I'm not too sure what's happened there. And as I said earlier, with Dowell, he was originally part of Russell Martin's plans at Rangers, but it just hasn't worked out that way for him. And those are two good additions to the squad that we made, and I felt like if they were to join in the Championship, they certainly would have seen more minutes than what they're getting at their clubs at the moment. And yeah, we just decided to go down different avenues. Again, what I said about players with maybe more Championship experience under their belt, or players that are worth more in the transfer market. But yeah, maybe it just goes to show that we shouldn't have changed the formula too much, because I was expecting us to make like 5 or 6 additions, but the amount of signings that we made was more than what I thought, and the same can be said for the amount of players that we let go too.
On Saturday the 5th, me and Jack headed on a 2,000 trip all the way to the bottom of Portugal to go and see Blues play Sevilla on the 12th of July. It was a fantastic trip. If you haven't seen that video, then I really do urge you to, because honestly, we put a lot of effort into that and we did a real good video out of it in the end. We went through Paris, we went through Madrid and Barcelona. We also went to Seville, actually, which was quite nice. We didn't even intend to do that. We just wanted to go to Seville before that. We had no idea that we were actually playing them in the game. There were thousands of Blues fans there that were absolutely turned up in their droves. We performed to an absolutely exceptional standard. We looked fantastic in the new kit as well. We had some of the new players in. Neumann was an absolute rock at the back with Clara. Keshi Anderson had picked up in his really good looking form. And Mark Leonard wrapped off a fantastic night with an unbelievable free kick.
New season, new haircut, by the way.
Yes,
for
I should
people
say.
that are watching, yeah, we'd done the first half before I went to hairdressers, and then I've just come back and we've just clicked record on the second half of it. But that Sevilla game, it's kind of just picking up from where we left off in League One, wasn't it? And it was a team that's playing, League of Football, and I know like the whole pre-season schedule, they were a couple of weeks behind or whatever, but still we played really well against them and we're pretty comfortable for a lot of the game as well. And yeah, obviously seeing the stuff online about the Blues fans in Portugal just having a good time, it was really nice to see that. And yeah, the performance on the pitch was good as well, and that Leonard free kick, I mean, it was only pre-season, but what a strike that was.
Absolute quality. How were we thinking in that sort of period? Because we probably were all a bit cockahoo about it all, really. So, you know, thinking like we're going to win the league, we're going to do a ×2. Like we'd seen Ipswich do it in the previous seasons. But how were you feeling at the time for the season ahead?
So I went on a channel, Leicester fan, really good, who I speak to, Final Whistle Foxes. Like, he's a really nice guy. I'd recommend checking out his channel. And I'd done a pre-seasons prediction video with him and a Wrexham fan as well, where we just detailed like the 1 to 24. And I said at that time that we'd finish 7th. And at the time, me saying that we'd finish outside the playoffs was like, oh, you think we're not going to get in the top 6? And I was like, to be honest, yeah, because I think it may be a step too far, because although we've done what we did in League One, Championship's just a different beast, and you've got the teams that are coming down with the parachute payments that have some superb players, and you've also got your teams in the Championship that have been settled in there for a while that just, you know how to play in that division and experience. And I feel like that was something that I was a bit worried about going into the season, that did we have that Championship experience straight away? I feel like that's something that you build towards. And say, for instance, you look at Coventry, the way they are this season, they've built towards that over years. I know obviously managers have come and gone, but I feel like a lot of their players have been there like through thick and thin with them, and there are some players that still at Coventry from when they were there, like in League 2, say, for instance. So that's something that they've built towards. And I feel like obviously the Championship's going to be a bit of a project, turning us into a promotion contending team. And I feel like it's going to take a few windows to do that and a bit of patience. And I know it's hard to say that now because of some of the football that we've watched this season, but going into the season, I thought it would be a case of, you know, things panning out over time rather than just a quick fix and like do what we've done, say for instance like an Ipswich or a Southampton or a Norwich back in the day. Like I felt like it was going to take time for us to really be promotion contenders despite all the media buzz around us.
And then in August, the first ever Birmingham City documentary on Amazon Prime was released to the world. Tom Brady involved, Tom Wagner, and even me and Sam, we made a little mini appearance in it. Sam, you were featured in it for the previews you did for Blues Focus. I obviously had my matchday vlogs in it.
I feel like it balanced sort of both aspects of what you want in a documentary in regards to the appeal for the people that follow Birmingham week in, week out, and the people that are just discovering what Birmingham was about and the project that we're on. So I feel like it really catered to both audiences very well, and you had your moments where it's talking about the history of Birmingham for people that don't know about it, but then you've also got the stuff that's behind the scenes that the fans that watch the club week to week would really want to know about. And I feel like telling that story through like Tom Brady as well, it's a clever thing to do because of the name that he is and how much popularity he's got worldwide. And it was really interesting to see some of the stuff with Tom Brady in regards to how he viewed Wayne Rooney as well, even not as like a football person, just hearing about what training happens and going, no, this isn't going to cut it, and then seeing the contrast in approach with what Chris Davies does and you know, the meticulous planner that he is, and he has everything mapped out to a T, and he's a planner that thinks way ahead and certainly more ahead than Rooney.
Chris Davies really stole the show, didn't he? Become like the real soul figure of the whole thing. You know, you've seen just what a professional he is and how much respect that the players have for him. Even those that couldn't quite make the team, they still really liked him. They still thought he was absolutely brilliant.
And the same can be said for a lot of Blues players as well. Jay Stansfield come across really well in the documentary because there was, you know, stuff that was being spoken about in regards to his dad, and then his mum and brother made appearances in the documentary as well, and that was something that really sort of hit me because of the emotion that it conveyed, and you know what Adam Stansfield means to Exeter City, say for instance, because they filmed that game there, didn't they? And he's got his stand dedicated to him, and Stansfield scoring, you know, at Exeter was a real touching moment. So I feel like there was a real balance as well in regards to emotions of having the highs and the lows and everything in between that comes with Birmingham City.
One of the most noticeable games that we had in pre-season as well was also the Nottingham Forest game at home, because we were unveiling the statue of our greatest ever player, Trevor Francis. Jasper Carrott turned up and he was fantastic doing the unveiling of the statue and everything. And it was a real honourable moment again. Again, that pride that we had around the club was sinking in, that we were becoming like we could feel proud about the club again, and having a statue is something that we've been desperately needing for many years now. Great summer, we really did enjoy it, and heading into that first opening game against Ipswich, the hype was really there.
blew almost before it happened. Well in, Neumann. Well in. Should have shot. Should have shot. Didn't think it was going to go in. Massive.
And it looks like we're going to come away with all 3 points until the very last minute when there's a handball seen by the referee in the box and he gives it to Ipswich.
It's a penalty. It's a penalty. He's given a penalty. I don't fucking believe that. Come on, Ulster. Let's score. Come on.
There's a bit of a kerfuffle at the end between the players after one of the Ipswich players boots the ball back into the crowd, which Christoph Klara is straight on. I mean, like, for captain material as well, that's absolutely fantastic, that is. Yeah, frustrating end to the game, but a lot of positives.
Before a ball had been kicked as well, Ipswich were everybody's favourites to go on and win the title because of the team that they come down with and the continuity that they had with McKenna still in charge, and he was obviously the guy that guided them to back-to-back promotions. And we gave them a real run for their money. I mean, it was even more than that. We were, minute or two away from getting all 3 points in that game, and I thought we played really well. The intensity was there. That was something that I was really proud of that day, that we didn't back down and we didn't sort of put men behind the ball and try and like soak up pressure. We just met them and we really used the crowd and the energy and the buzz around the stadium to our advantage. And it was a nice goal, wasn't it, from Stansfield? And then unfortunately the referee gave that penalty right at the end with the Lyndon Dykes handball, which I think could have gone either way. You know, you'll see that decision in the Championship sometimes go for you and sometimes not. And I'm not really one to talk about referees, but the referee was not good that game, was he? Like, I remember it was just frustrating watching it because there was a few decisions that, you know, I felt like we should have got that we didn't, and then there was that Kyogo disallowed goal where I don't think it was a foul, and I still say that, like, I genuinely don't think it was a foul. I think the size of Greaves and like when he falls to the floor, and Kyogo's not really going to prompt him to do that. He just knows that if he goes down, the referee's going to give a foul even if there's minimal contact. So that was a shame, but that was one of those games where, again, it was what Birmingham can be, you know, with packed out St Andrews and a team attending that's tipped to storm the league, and we gave them a real run for the money.
And they headed into the next game on August 16th away at Blackburn Rovers. I wasn't particularly confident with this one because our history at Ewood Park in the last few years hasn't been particularly great, and it looked like that was going to be the case as well when Todd Cantwell put them in front.
This fucking stadium, honestly. I don't get it. Why can we never win here?
But who'd have thought that the comeback of dreams was about to happen?
Come on, Joe. Simple, Joe. Yeah!
Pass!
that goes down another one of those moments of the year. That was absolutely brilliant. That was.
Especially at Ewood Park, where, as you said, we had just such a barren record there, barely anything to show for our performances, but we had all 3 points to show for our performance, and I'd say performances in the last 10-15 minutes of the game, because prior to that we were not good in the game whatsoever, and I thought, here we go again, it's Blackburn away, it's losing. But actually for that game I was in Spain and watching the game at our apartment with like my dad and brother, and like when the 90th minute goal went in, like we sort of cheered and jumped up, and like my mum and my sister were over by the pool, and they could tell by us shouting that we'd scored one goal, and then when the Lyndon Dykes goal came, it was a prolonged cheer. They just ran over because they thought at that point that someone had come in their apartment or something, but actually we'd just gone on and won the game, and just like madmen.
Those type of things don't happen to Blues ever, really, so like to have it happen in that sort of circumstance, it was frustrating though, because like we played really well against Ipswich and only come away with the points, and played terribly for the majority of the game, like you say, and then just sneak it at the last 15 minutes. But that's kind of how football works sometimes. It's an odd game, it really is. But yeah, 4 points on the board, up towards the top of the table. We realistically probably should have had 6, really, but that's just how it goes, really. Moving into the second round of the EFL Cup, we have Port Vale at home, and this game of the season was perhaps the turning point for the poor run of form, because unfortunately we lose 1-0. We were completely all over the place, and Port Vale had a famous win at St Andrews and then went on to play Arsenal in the third round, bloody typically, of course. But yeah, it was a really frustrating night, and we just couldn't get our act together. We had real problems just working the ball into the box, and it felt like a Blues performance of old, really. And in the end, it was kind of one of the first results along a very poor run of form.
It's the only minutes as well this season that Fujimoto's seen. He only got like a couple of minutes against Sheffield Wednesday, but he got 45 minutes in this game, and then that's been it. And in that game, the few of the new signings were introduced, and we thought like, oh yeah, it's just going to take some time for them to settle in. Don't look into the result too much, but it still was a bit worrying. I mean, especially when you see what Port Vale have done this season, a really off day, and then no progression in the cup.
Well, exactly, and then that spelled a bit of a poor run of form. We did have Leicester next game, which we knew was going to be a difficult game, but unfortunately it was one of our worst performances of the season so far. Leicester took the lead early on in the game, and Blues really just didn't look ourselves then. Damari Gray had a really poor game. The Leicester crowd were up against him all day. You could tell that it was getting to him, and they rounded off the victory at the end of the game. Moving into the first game of September, the international break has been and gone. We're playing Stoke away from home. I'd been making a few things talking about on podcasts, saying that I would like to see this team line up, Allsop in goal, have a back four, put in Tommy Doyle in. We still haven't really seen him at that point, and putting Patrick Roberts out on the right hand side, getting Dux through the middle as well. And we pretty much had that team up against Stoke. Me and Sam were both there. It was one of the rare times that we both actually get to go to the games together. And we had the team out that I was quite happy to see. And realistically, it was up there with one of the worst, unfortunately. We were absolutely appalling. We didn't have a shot on target. We were very poor in defence. We looked very sloppy with the ball. We deserved to lose again. And there was starting to be some concerns about the management and the tactics. It was one of the first times this season and first time in his real Blues career, where Chris Davies was being called into question to see if he actually had the know-how and the ability to manage a team in the Championship.
Yeah, and Tommy Doyle started that game as a number 10, didn't he? And that's an experiment that didn't really work. I think we've seen later on this season that he works better as like a deep line playmaker. But yeah, that didn't work then. And I remember, Roberts, that was one of his first appearances, wasn't it? And he looked a bit lively. But the first half, I think Alex Cochrane got rinsed by Sorba Thomas, didn't he? And was really struggling with the pace of Manhoef as well. That was one of those games where the players that were so reliable in League One, all of a sudden in the Championship, you start to think, are they up to the level? And I know you've got to take like the big sample size of things, and you've got to look at things throughout like the whole of the season and take into consideration a lot of games. But yeah, as you said, Tommy, that was one of the first games where I thought like this season might not perhaps go in the directions what a lot of people think it might do.
Yeah, it was frustrating all round as well, because of the fact that how they scored their goal as well. I mean, like if it had been that goal when he did the little back heel flick, that probably would have been justified, but it was how they scored the goal. It was a back post header, loops all the way into the far corner, and then that was it. There was literally no coming back from Blues at that point. And realistically, we needed to change something, so we did in the next game against Swansea, which was a massive win. Lyndon Dykes in the very last minute. Swansea did did have a goal ruled out in the first half, which was very funny. I'll insert a clip of it now of when they're celebrating, going mental and not realising that it's actually been ruled out. We needed that for the season, because another draw, or if we had actually managed to throw it away, then it would have been difficult to have seen like what are we actually going to be like. Away game against Coventry, we have a win under our belts. We thought that maybe we could give them a game, but unfortunately Frank Lampard's Coventry, who have very good experience in the Championship at this point, was still absolutely flying in the league and absolutely battered us 3-0. It really could have been more, probably should have been in hindsight. And again, it was one of those games where we didn't register a shot on target, and it's not hard to see why as well, really. Coventry put the prices up. Blues fans were not happy with that at all. To have that result and that performance at the end of it all just summed up a real flat and lethargic feel around the club at that time. And into the final game of September against Sheffield Wednesday. It should have been a game that we got all 3 points from, having seen where Sheffield Wednesday started, and such a poor performing team at the time, you know, going into debt and having points taken off them. And in typical Blues fashion, it finished 2-2. It probably should have finished 2-1 to Sheffield Wednesday as well. At the time as well, when watching the game, of course, we still had the unbeaten home record, so I couldn't have bared it if it had been that game that we'd lost that one. But that was easily the most dislikable game of the season for me.
I agree. I completely agree with that, and that's what I was going to say, because of who we were coming up against, and because it was at St Andrews and we had such a good record there, and as you said, like, we were seconds away from losing our unbeaten home league record, and yeah, to lose it in that manner would have been really disappointing. Demarai Gray popped up with a goal in the 99th minute and came in clutch there, and I feel like from that moment Gray's performances improved, because I feel like from the start of the season to that point we were like, what kind of player have we signed? You know, if we signed someone that's just come back from Saudi Arabia, that's still kind of finding their way back into English football and adjusting to the pace, and I feel like that goal, you know, set him on his way to then put in better performances. Towards the end of games, we've just chucked on as many attacking players as we can, lose the shape and just hope for the best.
Then heading into the first game of October against Wrexham away, again the Hollywood derby as everybody likes to call it. It was another 1-1 and very similar to the game that we had in the League One season. Wrexham took the lead. It was a bit of a mistake from Blues and really could have had another one had James Beadle not been on form that night. At that time as well, with the terrible run of form that we've been on, I was sitting here pretty much in this seat watching it at home, thinking that this is going to be a hard old season if we can't even beat Wrexham.
Thankfully we got that goal when we did to start off the second half, because you felt if it would have reached the 60-65 minute mark and Wrexham was still in the lead, then it was going to follow the same formula as what a lot of the away games have done for us this season, where we're chasing it and then we chuck on a load of attackers and the shape goes out the window, and it kind of be the same old story. But at least in that game we came away with a point, and Wrexham are a team this season where, a bit like us, obviously they're coming to it with a bit of media buzz and there's been expectation, they've spent quite a bit of money, but yeah, Wrexham find themselves at the moment around about in the mid-table area, improving a team that's like quite stubborn at the back, but not offering a whole lot going forward. And I feel like obviously Wrexham and Birmingham's journeys have paralleled quite a lot from going up to League One, going up from League One to the Championship and having that, I guess, celebrity investment. But with Birmingham and Wrexham, like, I don't know at this stage who's going to finish the highest in the league, because I feel like both have got pros and cons, and you can weigh them up against each other and, you know, really think about what's more important. And I'm just hoping that in the January window we can make some good signings and then kick on from there, because I feel like with us and Wrexham, maybe we'll be in the same market for the same players. You just don't know, do you? But both teams are actually quite similar, and it didn't surprise me that the draw happened at the Racecourse Ground.
And then on October 18th, Blues lost their unbeaten home record, a record that stood until April of 2024. But of course it had to come to an end at some point, and it happened to be that game. But Hull were absolutely the best team on the day. Jack Robinson, again, not having much favour with the Blues fans, and in fact had his worst game of the season with an own goal and also a red card for, I believe, if I remember rightly, it was sort of like just mouthing off to the referee, wasn't it?
It was the second yellow, I think, was for dissent, and yeah, Jack Robinson kind of doing a Jonathan Woodgate at Real Madrid.
Yes.
I kind of feel sorry for him in that respect, and I feel like ever since that moment, the Blues fans are just going to find it very hard to accept Robinson as one of our own. When he was brought in on deadline day, I thought it would be like a clever signing, because he's someone that does have that Championship experience that I talked about, has been promoted from the league before, so you think it's a no-brainer to get him, you know, can play multiple positions as well, but it just hasn't worked out for him. Yeah, for them, obviously, it was a cracking result, but for us, it was back to the drawing board.
We needed the results to come next afterwards, and we got that against Preston North End away. Goal from Phil Neumann, his first goal for Blues. 100% we needed it, because it really started to boost the team, and it was a well thought out point as well. I remember saying at the time, you know, it was a typical Championship performance, and just the 1-0 sometimes is all that you need.
Cash and probably should have gave away a penalty, and
yes.
it may have been a very different game had they been awarded a penalty and scored it, but they didn't, and we went on to win the game. And as I said, it was everything that an away performance should have been. I don't really mind that, as long as it gets the 3 points. This is something that I've said for a lot of the away games. Like, perhaps at times you've got to compromise what you have a little bit, because you just want to be a bit more wary away from home, because you're not going to get things your own way. You're not going to get as much time on the ball, and I feel like that Preston game was everything that it should have been.
So going into the game at Ashton Gate, we were 13th, jumping back up a few spaces. Bristol City were 4th, and unfortunately it was again one of those performances. We had a bit of a back and forth sort of relationship at that time, didn't we, with the team and everything. Like, we went from playing really solidly against Preston and then really weak and timid against Bristol City. And one of the things I really remember from that game is that when we went a goal down, we played all right in the first half, creating a few chances. Iwasa's getting forward on that right hand side, it's doing okay, and then we give away the goal and then we just give up. We don't really have any ideas after that. We've got like a couple of floating crosses into the box, and the keeper's coming and claiming it. After that, it's like, well, there is no other plan. And pretty much when like 20 minutes before the end of the game, we all knew that we were going to lose. It was just like, we know that we're not going to score. But moving into November, Blues had a much better start to the month with a couple of 4-0 wins against Portsmouth and Millwall. Fantastic performances. The first one against Portsmouth was unexpected. The second one against Millwall was even more unexpected. And yeah, 8 goals in 2 games. It was a very refreshing sight to see, wasn't it?
I feel like you can just talk about those Portsmouth and Millwall games collectively, because they were both just excellent in the way that we performed, and it was everything that a home performance should be, being the aggressors in the game and creating lots of chances and scoring goals and just suffocating the other team, and that's what we've done on both occasions. And with the Portsmouth game, I feel like that was the one that was more unexpected in a weird way, even though Millwall were like higher up in the table, just because we hadn't seen a performance like that yet for us in the Championship. And then it goes to show that we can do it, when everyone's performing at their best and really focused on the task at hand. That's what we can do, and that's perhaps where we've had the frustrations this season, because we know what the team are capable of. It's just about showing it on a more consistent basis, and those back-to-back games against Portsmouth and Millwall were 100% the benchmark.
It was the perfect response as well, because the fans have been crying out for it. Better performances, taking more shots on, better passing, keeping possession for a little bit, and we really did that. And Pake was 100% the best player out of those 2 games. 2 goals in 2 games. Iwasa got on the score sheet against Portsmouth as well from a corner, lovely little flick on. Clara as well got a header at the back post, and then Anderson wrapped off a fantastic day with a nice little finish that flew into the top corner. And then again against Millwall, where Pake got the goal, the opening goal was really well played. Gray got a nice little flick to put in the second goal just before half time, and then Alex Cochrane with easily one of the best goals of the season so far. Do I even mention that could perhaps be one of the moments of the year? I doubt it will get as awarded as it, but I don't know, we'll put it in there because it was a pretty special goal, really. I feel like it's unjust to not put him in the list for that, because it was pretty amazing, really. And Jay to wrap off the goal, wrap off the win at the end. It was the exact response we needed, because there have been so many times where I've been going away to games and just feeling like this isn't working, and this feels like a waste of time, this does as well, it's like not fair for the fans who spend all that money and then come and just see that poor performance. And at home, we should just be winning. I remember saying in a few of the reaction videos after the games, like, just win your home games and don't get beat away from home. And, we were doing the home games well, but unfortunately, heading into the next game against Middlesbrough, we don't get the points. But it was a better performance, but it was just sort of a testament to the fact that, we've had a good performance, a couple of good games, looking better, looking more like ourselves. And then, we get beat at Middlesbrough, but even still, there was like an underlying sort of thing about, like, if we are going to try and aim for playoffs this season, then it looks like we're going to miss out, because Middlesbrough probably will be a playoff team by the end of the season.
I think that Middlesbrough away game is actually one of our better away performances. I
agree.
I thought in general we did play pretty well, and we were pretty hard done by to not come away from that with anything. But Middlesbrough are a team towards the top of the league, and I feel like in that game there was certainly glimpses of what we could do. Demarai Gray getting a goal, and there were some real positives from that one to take away, and I wasn't too disheartened by that result because of who we were coming up against. And another one, I suppose, being our record at Riverside, it's not the best, is it?
Jay had a chance in the second half he really probably should have taken, but at least we were in the game. Some things were starting to change. I think some of the pressure on Davies was starting to get lifted as well, and we didn't have to worry about like looking over our shoulders and thinking, are we even going to be drawn into a relegation battle? At that time, I was feeling a little bit more confident. So during the next international break in November, Blues got announced their brand new 62,000 seater stadium. Me and Jack got the privilege of being invited along to the Dick McFlock studios, and what a fantastic day that was.
Excited. I don't know how to describe it. It's more than excitement. Yeah. It's like, it almost feels like bigger than Blues. You know what I mean? Like, it's just the biggest thing that's ever happened. I mean, look at this. This is for a football club. I mean, I remember we had discussions, right? Where I didn't think we could fill St Andrews anymore back in the day. I thought that ship had sailed, but look at this. This is unbelievable.
Blues were finally getting the respect that we deserved off people. There was outlets online saying that this is one of the most amazing looking stadiums in the world. It took my breath away, honestly. Like, just to see the chimneys around the stadium. Someone was saying it was going to be like as good as Wembley before I went in. And I was like, yeah, whatever, it's not going to be. But when you see it in the flesh and you see all the different models and the different ideas and the designs that they had, and the way that they put things on as well, Nighthead, they always do presentations perfectly. It's immaculate. They've got the right people involved. They've got the correct way of presenting it to you as well with the video that they had. It was absolutely amazing, and I kind of thank the people enough for inviting us along. It was absolutely incredible.
What a thing for you to be able to attend, to say that you were there for the stadium unveiling, you know, in years to come, when, you know, you got like children or grandchildren, you're like, yeah, I was there when this was announced.
What do you make to the stadium, Sam?
So when I first saw it, I just was in shock because it was so different, because of all the chimneys and that, and just it being a real statement. But then the more you see of it and you see the inside and how close the fans are to the action that's happening and the infrastructure around the place as well, because it's not just the stadium, is it? It's the sports quarter and what that's going to serve for the city of Birmingham, and just all the outside shots that they've managed to sort of predict with all the technology that they use. It's amazing, isn't it? And to say that that's going to be our stadium and we're going to be watching games there, it's fantastic. And you try to kind of block out the noise with people saying, oh, there's no way you're going to be able to feel that, this, that and the other. But with football, you just don't know. Like, how unpredictable has the last, 2.5 years been for Blues fans? Like, who would have thought that we'd been taken over, relegated down to League One, come up with the English record points tally, and then announce a 62,000 seater stadium? Like, who makes that up?
We've had such a roller coaster over these last few years, haven't we? We really have been taken on the full emotional ride. But back into the league, we played Norwich at home, a 4-1 victory this time. Marvin Dukes got his first goal for Blues, opening the scoreline, and then Jay Stansfield scored not too long afterwards. Norwich did get a goal back, which was going to be an interesting test for Blues to see if we could put up against the fight in that way. But obviously, we performed absolutely spectacularly that day. Dukes got his second just before the break, and then Stansfield wrapped off a fantastic game for him as well. You know, on the break, lifted over the goalkeeper, and really, like, I thought, you know what, we're back in the conversation now. We're really looking like we're going to be a contender this season.
And that was my first game as well for Alan March Sport, doing the audio description commentary. So a new venture for me, and I pretty much had the best seat in the house for it, because I was first up for the commentary. So like when we were doing these trial games, it was like 20 minutes each, and I had the first 20 minutes of the game. And with all the stuff happening before the game, you just had to kind of sit back and just take it in almost, because of all the messages that were being displayed on the screen. It was nice to see that, you know, players past that have been real cult heroes at Birmingham, you know, players that have gone on to do fantastic things. And then you see before the game that massive tifo unveiled, and that's something that you very rarely see at Blues, and I then had to speak about that on the audio description commentary whilst like taking it in for myself. So that was a real special occasion for me and also for the club as well, and thankfully we got a 4-1 win to make it even more memorable.
So the first derby of the season was against West Brom away. We didn't play particularly well, did we? But we managed to come away with a point. Marvin Dukes with a fantastic little flick on to get Blues the equaliser. Sam, your quick thoughts on that as you were sat in the home end?
I was sat in the home end. It's a bit of a family rivalry for me, Birmingham and West Brom, because you got me, my dad and my brother who are Blues fans, and then you got my uncle and cousins that are West Brom fans. So yeah, we were in the West Brom end for that one, and obviously we take it in turns depending on who's playing where, and it was Marvin Dukes that got the glance header, and at first thought, I thought it just went all the way through, but actually on the replay it shows that Dutch got the header, and it was one of those ones where it's hard to celebrate when you're in the home end. So kind of putting your hands down by your knees and not jumping up or anything.
Headed into December, the final month of the year, we had the opening game against Watford. We'd won 2-1. Things were starting to look okay for Blues. You know, we've been on a decent run of form, but we had a tricky game against Southampton next at St Mary's. Really started to fall back into old habits, unfortunately. First half, we didn't turn up at all. We had only a few shots at the goal. They took a 2-0 lead into the break. But we managed to pick ourselves up in the second half. Demarai Gray got a fabulous goal back, but then the referee didn't give the Blues a foul, and Southampton run up the other end of the pitch, make it 3-1 and capitalise on a bit of a poor performance from Blues, rounding off a disappointing day. Headed into the next game against QPR, unfortunately I wasn't there, or fortunately actually in hindsight to be fair, I was at a Christmas do. Probably the worst performance of the season from what we could gather really. Blues did manage to get a late equaliser, but also QPR got a late winner. And then Charlton, a 1-1 draw, and then only a few days ago we lost 3-0 at Sheffield United. So we'll kind of wrap off this little bit of a video just in this part of the month. Each month has been so inconsistent, hasn't it? We've had like really great months and then really terrible months, and this one's been an absolutely shocking month.
Definitely, and going through the year month by month as well, it's interesting because you have the first half of it where, you know, it's win after win after win, and then you've got the adversity that's come in the second half of the season. And I'd say that there have been games this season where we've drawn or lost and actually played okay, but then there are games this season where we've won, say for instance the Watford one, where I feel like we were really pushed to the limit in that game but rose to the occasion, and the Ipswich game as well, where they had quality but we rose to the occasion. So there's obviously more questions being asked of us in the Championship, but I feel like for this January transfer window, you know, moving into the new year, I feel like a lot of Blues fans know what we need in order to improve. I feel like Chris Davies knows what we need to improve, and for people that are saying that Chris Davies should leave, I personally still got faith in him, and I can understand like you as a fan that goes to every game home and away, and like sitting through some of those away performances, like you must be really considering like, has the manager got a future here? But I feel like the important thing to recap on, like when we go through 2025, is that the journey that the club's been on and the whole changing of philosophy and the way that we think about our club as well. Because now I feel like at this stage in December 2025, we go into a lot of games thinking that, you know, we've got to win it, but that mindset hasn't been there for a lot of years before 2025, and I feel like the start of this year really helped that journey. And then now we're at this stage in December 2025 where we think about Birmingham differently than we have done in the past. So that's credit to Chris Davies because of the performances that we've produced, you know, especially in League One and the way that we romped to the title there. So I feel like Chris Davies is still the right man to take us forward. It's now going into that January window, really assessing things for Craig Gardner and going, right, what do we need? And then signing the players in the right position to, I guess, fill the holes that we have now.
So there we go. That is 2025 at Birmingham City Football Club. I hope you've enjoyed. We are going to do a poll for the best moments of the season. Here are the suggestions on screen now, so be sure to put in the comments down below which you think was the best moments. Sam, it's been an absolute privilege. It's been great having you back on my channel as well. We'll be getting Sam back on the channel much more this year as well.
There's quite a lot of doom and gloom at the moment when it comes to Birmingham because of the form that we're in, but it's been really nice to be able to chat with you and talk about the year as a whole and the real important moments that we've had, you know, significant moments of joy and happiness and celebration of achieving what we have, and the real contrast in the optimism that we now have going forward, because there hasn't been this level of optimism for such a long time. And the reason why the fans are upset, even though we're 14th, 15th in the league, is because we now expect things, and what a nice thing that is to be able to say. So I'm hoping that patience is going to pay off, and we're going to get there eventually. We're going to get to the promised land in time. It may not be this season, but I'm sure it will be within the time we fit into the new stadium. I reckon that's going to be the time where we kick on and things are really going to start happening. And this really is the beginning of the journey, as Tom Wagner said.
Who knows where we'll be by the end of the season? Fingers crossed we'll be towards the top of the table, and who knows as well, we may even have another trip to Wembley. But yeah, Sam, what an absolute privilege it's been. It's been really enjoyable to go back over the last 12 months. It's been an amazing few months as well. So many great moments for us as well as individuals moving ahead with our careers as well. Thank you for joining me, man. It's been an emotional one, it really has.
Yeah, definitely, and look to make more videos in 2026.
So there we go. That's 2025. Bring on 2026. Be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already. If you're new to the channel, I do matchday vlogs every single week covering all the Blues action. Be sure to go check out Sam's channel as well. I'll be sure to leave a collaboration link as well along the side so you can go subscribe to him right now. But yeah, thank you for watching and keep right on.
Keep right on, guys.